Today on NewsWatch, looking for answers, another deadly shooting, this one in Louisiana. See what investigators know so far.
Wow, this fits two of us. Look at that. You've almost gone down half of your size.
Yeah. It's a weight loss story you don't want to miss. Find out why his fitness plan worked. And bringing miracles mainstream. See our exclusive interview with Roma Downey about her show, Answered Prayers. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. 3 people are dead and 9 injured after a gunman opened fire inside a Louisiana movie theater Thursday night. Police are still searching for answers to the question, why did the incident happen? But they say the gunman shot himself as they tried to reach him. This Lafayette, Louisiana multiplex was packed with families and lots of teenagers Thursday evening when a 58-year-old man stood up and began shooting inside one of the theaters.
And then we saw a lady with blood all over her leg. I just grabbed my child and we just all ran.
It's just really, really crazy. I mean, like, you kind of see this thing on the news all the time, but you just never expect it to happen in your own hometown, you know?
Police say the incident unfolded 20 minutes after people started watching the comedy film Trainwreck. Officers rushed inside only minutes after reports of shots being fired. The day after, they're looking for answers. Why did he do it?
That's the big question. That's what everybody is wondering. Why would this guy come here to this theater and just start randomly shooting people?
The gunman killed 2 people and injured another 9 before turning the gun on himself.
Tonight was an awful night for Lafayette, an awful night for Louisiana, an awful night for our entire country. Out of tonight's tragedy, you're beginning to hear stories of heroism and self-sacrifice. A couple of teachers at a movie together. One of the teachers literally jumped on top of the other, may have saved her life.
This shooting in Lafayette happened the same day jurors in Colorado decided they will not rule out the death penalty for James Holmes, the man at the center of a movie theater massacre in Aurora 3 years ago.
The best thing we can do across Lafayette, across Louisiana, across our country is come together in thoughts and love and prayer. We're a resilient community. When one of us suffers, we all suffer, but I think this will pull us together.
In their search for answers, police did identify the gunman's car. They also found multiple addresses for where he lived. The House has passed a bill aimed at cracking down on so-called sanctuary cities that harbor immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. It would punish cities that refuse to cooperate by blocking them from receiving some law enforcement funding. The White House is threatening to veto the measure. The bill comes in response to the recent murder of a young woman in San Francisco. Kate Steinle was killed by a man who had a long criminal record and had been previously deported 5 times to Mexico. San Francisco authorities released the man even though federal immigration authorities had asked the city to keep him in custody. This week, Kate Steinle's father testified.
Suddenly a shot rang out. Kate fell and looked at me and said, "Help me, Dad." Those are the last words I will ever hear from my daughter. We feel if Kate's law saves one daughter, one son, a mother, a father, Kate's death won't be in vain.
Texas Republican Congressman Lamar Smith said Kate's law is simply about enforcing existing immigration law. He stated, quote, many of the crimes committed by illegal immigrants could have been prevented if the Obama administration had enforced immigration laws. Instead, it has chosen to ignore them, and innocent Americans continue to pay a steep price. Republican lawmakers are taking a stand against the Obama administration's nuclear deal with Iran, saying it lets Iran off the hook. Secretary of State John Kerry blasted Republicans in a Senate hearing, asking if their plan for Iran was to launch a war. White House Press Secretary Josh Ernst followed that White House talking point, accusing conservative opponents of being pro-war. But Republicans say the administration has been deceived by Iran.
From my perspective, Mr. Secretary, I'm sorry. Not unlike a hotel guest that leaves only with a hotel bathrobe on his back, I believe you've been fleeced.
Congress has 60 days to confirm or reject the Iran deal. Despite requests from African leaders to keep his gay agenda at home, President Obama says he plans to make gay rights part of his agenda during his trip to Africa. President Obama faced criticism and growing calls from LGBT groups to press the issue aggressively while in the region. A number of Kenyan politicians and religious leaders have warned the president any overtures on gay rights would not be welcomed in Kenya, where gay sex is punishable by up to 14 years in prison. The president is the first sitting president to visit Kenya and Ethiopia. There's more to come. That's what one member of Congress had to say about the shocking undercover videos showing Planned Parenthood discussing the sale of body parts of aborted unborn children. Congressman Diane Black tells CBN News she viewed the footage prior to it being made public and in her own words still finds herself rattled by what's on the tapes.
I can tell you that it was so emotional for me that I had a hard time not being tearful, seeing the inhumane activity that was occurring at Planned Parenthood in these clinics. And what I saw on the film was just rattling to me. The disrespect for life and the kind of talk about how we can crush this child, and we do this by an ultrasound guided mechanism to be able to preserve this part or that part. The lack of respect for human life was really rattling to me.
The Tennessee Republican and former registered nurse has a bill to defund Planned Parenthood while Congress investigates. So far, she has more than 120 co-sponsors in the House, prompted by 2 undercover videos released this week by the Center for Medical Progress.
I can tell you that the Center for Medical Progress does have more video footage. I do not know how they plan on rolling that out, but I think you have not seen the end of what they have uncovered is really the heart and soul of what happens there at Planned Parenthood.
Black is working to get the House to take action before Congress's August recess. Several pro-life lawmakers have offered similar measures in the Senate. A federal appeals court has upheld a ruling against a pro-life law in North Dakota. The law banned abortions when the heartbeat of an unborn could be detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. The 8th Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with a district judge's decision last year. He ruled it unconstitutional. The law was approved by the Republican-dominated legislature in 2013, but it was quickly put on hold after the only abortion clinic in the state filed a lawsuit. Still to come here on NewsWatch, help for people who are extremely overweight and who don't want to undergo the knife. You'll meet a man who lost 162 pounds in just 8 months. Right after this. John Blair lost 162 pounds in just 8 months, and he didn't do it on a fad diet. He also didn't undergo knife surgery. As health reporter Lori Johnson shows us, he did it on a medically supervised weight loss plan.
John Blair used to be too heavy to comfortably walk around the block. But now that he's lost 162 pounds, it's easy.
Well, I feel great. I feel great about it. It does have results, and that's what's making me feel great.
He's talking about a medically supervised weight loss program. Just 8 months ago, he weighed in at a staggering 526 pounds, barely able to squeeze into these size 66 jeans.
Oh, wow, this fits 2 of us. Look at that. You've almost gone down half of your size.
Yeah. John's thrilled to once again climb steps 1 foot per stair and to have enough energy to rake the yard. He wants to lose about another 100 more pounds in order to reach his goal of 250, the same weight as when he was in the military. The medically supervised weight loss program produces fast results, and that motivates you to stick with it. You have 4 meal replacements a day, which means no outside foods at all.
They're powders. Now, some of them form into soups, some of them are puddings, and some of them are just shakes. And then they do also have bars that you can substitute 1 a day. It's satisfying. It really is.
The suit John wore for our interview appeared tight just 8 months ago. Now look how it hangs on him. And check out how much unhealthy belly fat he's lost. After failing with other diets, John hasn't cheated one bit with this one, not even during the holidays.
My food was coming. I knew it was coming. I didn't have to have, the ham and the yams, and I didn't have to have that.
The key to this supervised weight loss is that it's under the watchful eye of a doctor.
We check a patient's lab test. We check a patient's medication list to see if they're on medications that may be promoting weight gain. So I may suggest medication changes from that aspect. We also look at how their medication needs change during their weight loss, because someone on insulin is going to need a much lower dose of insulin. Their blood pressure medicines may decrease.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, reducing your weight by 5% is considered significant weight loss. The medically supervised program can lead to a 30% drop.
Compare that to bariatric surgery, they may be down 40 to 50% of their original weight. So we're getting changes similar to, not as much as, but similar to bariatric surgery, and people aren't having to go through the surgery.
Anyone who's ever dieted knows half the battle is losing the weight, the other half is keeping it off. One of the keys of this program, regular meetings with a dietitian, so folks learn how to make good choices once they're back on real food.
When people start realizing the role of protein, fats, and carb in the diet, they just get a sense of empowerment.
Barbara Meckes teaches clients to avoid sugars, especially high fructose corn syrup, and advises steering clear of starches like bread. When it comes to fats, stay away from hydrogenated oils, also called trans fats, and overly refined oils like vegetables. Meckes says some saturated fats like coconut oil are healthy, as are natural oils like olive.
I encourage people to go to, as much as possible, the expeller pressed or cold pressed fats, and those are more fats that are straight from the origin.
Even if you eat healthy food, you can still gain weight by eating too much of it. So that's where this portion plate comes in handy. It trains you to eat the right amount, and it's not just food.
We've talked several times about sleep, how you're producing ghrelin in your stomach. If you don't get enough sleep, the ghrelin takes over and that makes you hungry. So things like that I never knew before.
This fitness tracker reminds its wearer to stay active.
A lot of them will send your smartphone a text message when you've been still for more than an hour and tell you time to get up and move. Some of them will actually give you a vibrating alarm when it's time to get up and move.
And finally, there's the emotional component. What was behind the weight gain?
Because a lot of people do have food addiction, or they turn to food during times of stress or anger or boredom. And so our goal is to try to teach people alternative ways to get that relaxation, the break from the stress, maybe some relief from some of the boredom in other ways besides turning toward food.
So whether you have 20 pounds to lose or over 200 like John, a medically supervised weight loss program may be just what you need for a longer, healthier life. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, Answered Prayers. We've got the inside scoop on Roma Downey's latest project. And we know God hears our prayers, and now there is a new show detailing some of the ways he's moved in intense situations. Actress Roma Downey is behind the new series. Our Jennifer Wishon has the scoop.
Answered prayers. They're what Christians seek daily, and often God answers just when we think all hope is lost. Tired of the discouraging news on TV, actress and producer Roma Downey decided to look for inspiration.
They are moments of divine intervention.
She went to churches across the country asking for stories of answered prayers. The response was overwhelming. 20 of those modern-day miracles will be relived in her new series, Answered Prayers.
You know, on Touched by an Angel, we used to say that coincidence was God's way of remaining anonymous. And you see in these stories how God shows up again and again.
It's reported that the tornado has touched down.
As Christians, we know that God is constantly answering prayers. He's constantly moving in the world. But for many people watching this, it may be surprising.
It's reminding people that they're not alone, that God is real and that God hears them when they cry out.
We're living at a time when many Americans fear their religious liberty is under attack. And at the same time, you're putting a show about answered prayers on the air. What do you make of the timing of this launch?
I'm just really encouraged. We're hoping that the show might birth a prayer revival. We know that we need prayer now more than ever. There's a lot of fear in our nation, I think. You know, there's a lot of things going on in our world that are very scary. And I think it's just good to be reminded that our God is an almighty God. And when we reach out to him, he hears us.
Answered Prayers premieres on TLC this Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Even if you don't believe, there will be a moment where you will scratch your head and say, there's no logical explanation for any of the outcomes of these stories. Something supernatural is going on here.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, New York.
And in other entertainment news, the weekend is here and you may be thinking about heading to the movie theater. So let's turn now to focus on the family's entertainment review department called Plugged In Online for a review of the new film called Pixels. Check it out.
The movie Pixels starts out back in 1982, a time when a kid named Sam Brenner was pretty good at saving the world.
What's up?
Of course, all his world saving took place at the local arcade in games like Space Invaders and Donkey Kong. He was so good, though, that it propelled him to the very first video game national championships. He didn't win, but he heard that the tapes of the competition were even included in a time capsule collection that NASA launched into outer space. That's pretty special. But things quickly change when space aliens, on the receiving end of those old video game recordings, somehow misinterpret Pac-Man as an act of war.
Pac-Man's a bad guy?
And they send their own giant 80s video game characters to attack the Earth.
We've never faced a threat like this before.
The world will need capable defenders, which means Sam and his friends need to get back in the game.
We have to take the battle to them.
Donkey Kong.
This CGI-packed comedy starts out with a fairly cute idea. And it does say positive things about not letting old failures and losses dictate your future choices. But most of the really creative parts of that cute and encouraging idea can be found in this flick's trailer. And there's not much added other than some adult situations, lowball gags, and too much foul language. So I'm keeping my quarters in my pockets and giving Pixels a mere 2.5 hurtling asteroids out of 5 for family friendliness. For a full review of this film or anything else at your local box office, please visit us at PluggedIn.com. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Cheryl Wilhelmy for Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
Social media websites are a great way to keep up with friends and family, but they can also be dangerous places, especially for kids. Well, at least until now. Technology contributor Caleb Kinchlow has more on a social networking site created specifically for kids by a kid.
Well, hey, you're watching Digital Download. I'm Caleb Kinchlow. It's time to meet the Marks. This family of 8 is always on the move, surfing their way through countries around the world. And at the age of 11, the middle son, Zach, wanted to keep in touch with people he met at surfing competitions. So naturally, he created a Facebook page. But his dad was concerned for his son's safety and thought Zach was too young to be on the site. Well, Zach disagreed. What happened next?
There was no place for kids like me to go that been kicked off Facebook before by their parents, so I decided to create one.
Yeah, you definitely heard him right. At the age of 11, he created his own social networking site, and it's called Grom Social.
Grom actually comes from Australia, and it's like a young surf term. It's actually a promising young individual that is quick to learn.
I want to just say that we're big fans of Facebook for adults. But when it comes to the kid market, there's no one watching, no monitoring. We just felt that, he wasn't ready to be exposed to that kind of stuff. We wanted to keep him young still.
That was back in 2012. Now, 3 years later, the site has grown from a couple hundred users to 1.2 million. So here's how it works. Kids log on using a parent or teacher's email. Now, once they sign up, they create a grommetar, start exploring, playing games, and connecting with people. But it's not just anyone. Every keystroke is monitored 24/7, and parents can track their kids' activity. We checked out the verification process, and yeah, trust me, it's secure. So, what's next for the Marks family and Grom Social?
We are currently working on a project that's going to allow us to have a Christian-based part of Grom Social.
Zach also had this advice for young entrepreneurs.
We have a goal and don't let anything get in your way. Focus on what you're doing and don't let anything stop you from what you want to do. That was kind of my motivation creating Grom Social.
I'm Caleb Kinchlow, and this has been Digital Download.
Pretty cool. Well, you may not be aware, but our Digital Download series just won an Emmy Award. Series creator Caleb Kinchlow, producer Alicia Hill, and I were recently honored to receive the Emmy in the Best Technology Series category. Our series has covered numerous topics like CBN Superbook app, technology for discipleship, and social media safety. So be sure to check it out online at cbnnews.com for more. Well, finally this hour, we want to leave you with a message of hope we like to call our Friday Faithful. It's my hope that it will lift you up and jumpstart you to a great weekend. Consider this: God is higher than any mountain, deeper than any valley, and wider than any ocean. He can do anything, but all he wants is to be with you. So in all your busyness, make time for your great God, and you'll be glad you did. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear from you at Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you back here on Monday.